This program was brought to you by Koller Institute of Venture at Tel Aviv University.
Hi everybody. The subject of today's workshop is bridging the gap between deep innovation in academia to industry and later on to markets. And I come from the pharmaceutical industry, and actually taking academic discoveries and turning them into drugs for patients is what we do. So the pharmaceutical industry has a specific perspective and understanding of the challenges. And when we speak about the challenges of crossing this gap, we actually have a pretty dramatic term for it. We call it the valley of death. This is where many good ideas get lost in translation. So this will be the topic of my discussion, which I think is going to be a sobering one, but one that highlights also some promising directions. The lessons that could be drawn from this are broadly applicable to all the industries that all of you are involved in. I will start by speaking about Teva's experience by taking academic innovation in Israel and turning it into drugs. I will take a step back and take a more global perspective on the challenges of taking biopharmaceutical innovation from universities and turning them into pharmaceuticals, and I will highlight initiatives that address these challenges. Just a word about Teva. The Israelis here probably know it very well, but for the non-Israelis, it's the 12th largest pharmaceutical company in the world. It has $20 billion in sales. Most people are familiar with Teva as the largest generic company in the world, but Teva has almost $10 billion of innovative branded drugs. And I would like to tell you a bit how Teva got into the innovative business. I'm taking you back to the year 1987 to a coffee place in Ramat HaSharon next to Tel Aviv, where two interesting individuals meet for coffee. The person on the right, Eli Horowitz, the legendary founder and CEO of Teva. Eli spoke about the power of individual, the impact of Eli Horowitz on Teva, on the pharmaceutical industry, on the Israeli economy is really profound. He meets with Professor Michael Sella from the Weizmann Institute, an immunologist. And over coffee, Michael Sella tells Eli that he discovered a compound in his lab several years ago. And this compound was tested in a hospital setting, and the results were quite profound and promising. This was for a little-known disease at the time called multiple sclerosis. And in a moment of vision and deep insight, Eli Horowitz thought that this drug could potentially transform Teva. So there was a licensing deal signed, and I have Eli Streit here in the audience. I think you were involved in this licensing deal at the Weizmann Institute. Fast forward to today, Copaxone is the global leading treatment of multiple sclerosis, generates last year more than $4 billion, generated hundreds of millions of dollars for the Weizmann Institute in royalties that financed further research, a huge success story. Encouraged by that, in 1988, another person approaches Teva, Professor Musa Yudim from the Technion, and he says, I also discovered a drug in my lab for Parkinson's disease. This was not tested in humans, but it was about to get ready to enter into clinical trials. And it was licensed by Teva. Fast forward to today, Azilect is one of the global leading treatments for Parkinson's disease, generating about $500 million in sales. Encouraged by these two events, Teva started a pretty systematic effort of trying to find in Israeli academia the next Copaxone or the next Azilect. This effort has been ongoing for about 25 years. Different people were changed, but the effort remained consistent. Who knows how many drugs have been successfully commercialized by Teva since Azilect and Copaxone as a result of this effort of 25 years? Zero. What happened? In order to understand this, I want to take a step back in just 2 minutes to explain a little bit of the drug discovery process. I will show a short video, and this will create a framework for trying to understand what happened.
We've all been touched by the miracles of modern medicine, but few people understand how medicines are made and the immense effort required to get them to market and into our hands. At any given moment, there are tens of thousands of research teams across the country working hard at analyzing diseases to find out what causes them. Once the treatment target of a disease is found, biopharmaceutical companies start investigating how to act on them, to stop the diseases from getting worse, or even reverse their courses. Tens of thousands of compounds are typically examined, and they come from all over, from natural compounds that already exist, to synthetic compounds made in labs or through bioengineering. Through a long and difficult process of elimination that can take as long as 6 years, they get it down to a single candidate medicine. Assembling all their findings, the company will now file for permission to do clinical testing with the FDA. This will be the first time that the new drug will be given to people, and safety is the most important concern of everyone involved. If approved, the candidate drug starts to go through a 3-phase clinical trial. Because of the emphasis on safety and efficacy, many drugs will not make it all the way through this process. Phase 1 trials are the first in humans, and usually small, focusing on the medicine's safety and how the drug moves through the body. Phase 2 trials are larger, focusing on the medicine's efficacy and dosing. Phase 3 trials are much larger and focus primarily on making sure the medicine is safe and effective for a wide variety of people. After a successful clinical trial, a process that usually takes 6 to 7 years, the biopharmaceutical company files a new drug application with the FDA. A typical application contains hundreds of thousands of pages for the FDA to review in a complex process that requires both time and scientific expertise. Once the FDA has evaluated all the available data, they will approve only those medicines they think are both safe and effective for public use. Even after approval, the FDA continues to monitor medicines on the market. Once approved, the biopharmaceutical company will manufacture and distribute the new medicine to people in order to treat and cure diseases. The result of this process seems so simple. It might be just one pill taken with water twice a day. But how it came to be in your medicine cabinet is anything but simple. For just this one drug to come into being, it has taken up to 1,000 people 12 to 15 years and $1.3 to $1.6 billion. It's a long and expensive process filled with stops, starts, and failures. But through it, our lives are made better every day.
So this little video actually showed the long journey that a scientific discovery takes in order to become a medicine. And these steps along the way are kind of a chain that can break at any point. If we go back to what Teva was looking for, what the Teva team was looking for the 25 years that we were on the search, are products that are either in late preclinical or basically ready to enter into clinical trials. What we found out is that although Copaxone and Azilect, academic institutions in Israel do come every once in a while with a product that is ready to enter into clinical trials. Now, Israeli academia has actually been extremely productive, finding novel pathways, discoveries, target validation. There are Nobel Prizes coming from Israeli universities. The problem is that this part is not covered appropriately by either industry or academia, and this is actually a global phenomenon. It's not just related to Israel. And these two sections, discovery and preclinical, are getting significant challenges being funded. Academia, which is essentially non-for-profit, dealing with private funding, focuses here. Industry, which is for-profit, focuses on the later stages. And this part, discovery and preclinical, which is called translational research, that could be funded by either academia or industry, at the end of the day is underfunded by both. Why doesn't academia move forward into this? Primarily, it's because of lack of funding and skills. This part, per project, per successful project, costs between $10 to $15 million. These are usually not the kind of amounts that one gets with an academic grant. Second thing, discovery and preclinical up to now used to be industrial type of expertise. It's starting to proliferate, but for historically, this has been something that industry did much better than in academia. And there is a question of alignment of academic incentives. Nobel Prizes are usually won around targets. Papers are published around new insight into disease processes. So getting into down the commercialization route is not something that necessarily promotes a professor up the academic ranks. Why does industry have a difficult time moving from the clinical stage to these earlier stages? The time to market is very long. Entering development here means needing to wait more than 10 years. The risk is higher here, and the financial reward is lower. I want to provide some concrete numerical quantitation of this. This is the probability of success of a project at every step of the drug, of basically companies entering at various stages. If I'm a pharmaceutical company and I want to have high likelihood of getting a drug approved, I need to buy 2 phase 3 products. If I want to enter earlier, I need to buy 20 discovery projects and wait for the attrition to take place to have 1 drug in the market. In terms of the financial returns, this is a quick calculation I did myself from several sources. The IRR, the intrinsic internal rate of return of developing drugs today, is higher the later you get into the process. It is still positive. It is still above the cost of capital, but in an environment where budgets are going down, and this is actually the total budget of US industry in biopharmaceutical research, when you need to cut, it's these earlier projects that get cut first. One of the things that concerns us in the industry is that these IRRs that today are positive are undergoing all sorts of pressures that may even make them lower in the future. So we may find out in a few years that entering the game at the discovery and preclinical stages has IRRs of 0 and 5%, which will make it extremely difficult for anyone to get in. So this valley of death is a very serious issue for academia, for the pharmaceutical company, and for society. And there are initiatives to try to address these challenges. They come from government, they come from industry, they also come from non-for-profits. This is Michael J. Fox, probably the most famous Parkinson's patient in the world. He set up the Michael J. Fox Foundation. And the idea is, the cures we want aren't going to fall from the sky. We have to get ladders and climb up to get them. So there are various approaches to try to bridge this with and several metaphors of building bridges, building ladders to actually promote it. They come in 4 flavors. One is to encourage academia to move forward to the discovery and preclinical stages. The other is to encourage industry to enter the earlier phases. The third are mostly government initiatives that try to bring both academia and industry together. And the fourth, that may be a new wave, still need to be determined by time, are companies that focus specifically on the value of death and try to change its intrinsic economics. And I'll speak about each one. Academia is there are many initiatives to try to provide academia incentives to get into discovery and preclinical research. They come from non-for-profits, they come from the NIH. And industry also has initiatives. These are just 2. Pfizer set up in 2011 a $100 million effort in the Boston area to do exactly translational research. We, in a much more modest scale at Teva, created a $15 million initiative in Israel focused on neuroscience. But taken as a whole, the total percent of the pharmaceutical budget that goes to these type of initiatives is less than 5%. It's not going to be transformational. Another approach is for industry to actually go and start initiatives that are focused on this. Most notable is what Novartis did in the Boston area, the Novartis Institute of Biomedical Research. 6,000 people it grew, and they do systematically screening of earlier innovation and translate them. But most other companies, what they do is try to be very focused, try to capture the less risky approaches and take them forward. An interesting type of collaboration comes from governments that try to fund projects that come from both academia and industry. And one of them comes from the UK. I want to talk about this a little bit. It's called the Cancer Research Technologies, UK. It's backed by the UK government. It's a platform that enables any pharmaceutical company to tap into the 20 leading research institutes in the UK in the area of cancer. And it provides both funding and a platform for collaboration. We at Teva actually had an excellent experience tapping into this network. We had a single product around a specific cancer kinase target that started a few years ago. We're doing everything 50-50 with them. We have chemists, they have chemists, we provide half of the money, they provide the other half. They brought the initial targets, and we have a drug candidate that emerged from this. It's going to enter clinical trials soon, and we're actually expanding this collaboration for additional targets. What could be an interesting game changer in this industry is companies that focus on the discovery and preclinical stages and try to change the economics of this. So instead of costing $10 to $15 million, if they can cut it in half, if they can cut it by 2/3, that could completely change the economics of this business. And one company that is moving in that direction is a Chinese company called WuXi. WuXi started as basically as a vendor to the pharmaceutical industry. They provided them with services of translational research, and right now they're moving actually independently and try to leverage scale, low cost of doing this this activity in China, and this may combine, create a combination that has a new economic paradigm for this, but only time will tell. So in summary, the value of death, a serious and growing concern. The fundamental problem are the low intrinsic economic returns on the translational stage. This is what where the chain breaks. There are multiple initiatives, but no magic bullet. I think that it's only when something changes in the fundamental economics, and maybe WuXi is a company that shows us the future here. Only this is when things will start to turn the corner. Thank you very much.
This program was brought to you by Koller Institute of Venture at Tel Aviv University.